Hi everyone, my name's Catherine J or Catherine Joy, and I'm the author of the book Prosper as Your Soul Prospers. So that's this book here, and that came out a few years ago. But I just really felt today to talk about, some of the things that I teach in that one. First of all, the book came about because part of my background is teaching, part of my background is in business. But what I found over the years is that most people have no idea how to deal with their finances, or even to know that you can control your emotions. So I wanted to be write a book about all the things that I've been working with people, teaching people, mentoring or coaching people who have been able to get breakthroughs in their life, especially in the areas of finances and emotions. So then they start to get control of their life, and then they start to feel better. And so, over time, your depression falls away, and you just realize, oh, wow, there is hope. Um, and the big thing today that I wanted to talk about is income minus expenses equals your future. So the formula is Y for income minus X expenses equals your future. So we want that to be positive, or uh, absolutely, you want it to be positive. So you've got more money coming in rather than what you're spending. The opposite of that is negative. And if you are going negative, you're spending more money than what you've got coming in, then either you're going into your savings, or even worse, that you're actually heading for bankruptcy. And even if you are having negative, so a lot of people live week to week. But what happens if your car breaks down? If you have an accident, or you need to go to the dentist? A lot of people don't have money for contingencies or emergencies, or even if they want to go off and do something, then they have to put it on credit, or these days on afterpay. And if you're continually living week to week, then over time, it's more likely that you're actually going to go bankruptcy as well. And some people don't understand, when you go bankrupt, your credit rating is affected at least for 7 years. So it's not something that people want to be having happen. So just in general with your income, some people think your income is your job. Well, that's great, absolutely wonderful. Um, I I don't know, for some reason I just always like the idea of having maybe 4 or 6 different income streams. So some simple. So this is there's a chapter in this book, again, because it's things that I've been teaching about for 15 years before I published the book. One about increasing your income. So something, if you're younger, it could be, okay, well, you're pretty good at setting up new software on your phone or something. Maybe you can offer to help people in your family or your friendship group, or through one of your social groups, or even if you belong to a sporting family or a church or something, where you can offer your services to help people, perhaps even that are a bit older, of how they can, you can help them set up their phone, or take the photos of, or organize them, or something. There's, a lot of young people don't realize, for what is so simple for many of you, not all of you I know, um, that for sometimes older people, so it's digital natives versus digital immigrants. So I'm a digital immigrant. I didn't grow up with the internet, like that didn't come in until I was, an adult. And yeah, so income could be, if you've got a home, or you've got a spare room. It could be having, a homestay student. It could be having, renting out the room to somebody. There are many different ideas for that. Picking up things on the side of the road and cleaning them up and then selling them on Gumtree or eBay. There's so many different ideas. And again, that's something that I do cover in that book. It could also be things like your dividends on shares, bank interest, tutoring, so many different things. Then when you come down to your expenses, a lot of people think your expenses are just your rent or your mortgage, maybe your telephone, your utilities, like your gas, your electricity. But a lot of people don't realise that there's medical, that there's insurances, which hopefully you have, education. There's so many other different types, transport. And So a lot of people don't realize that it is wiser to have a spending plan. And it's not to say that, to look after every cent, because just like a diet, a lot of people don't want to be caught up, with every single thing and stressed about all of that. Some people like that. Most of us don't. And we can't stick to a diet. But at least if we know generally, okay, well, this is our spending plan and this is roughly what I'm going to be spending here or there, but then having boundaries, safe, healthy boundaries on that. And so if you do have to go, maybe you've got to get a car service and you need a new tire and you didn't have enough money in your savings to cover that. Then there's other money that you have to think, okay, well, where is that other money going to come from? Maybe I can't go out for dinner as many times this month, as an example. So there's all different ways, and so through Imagineering to a Better World, or like I said, with this book, this forms part of the for the coaching programs, as well as speaking or interactive seminars, things like that. The book came out of all of those activities, but also I do sometimes use those as a foundation. But obviously each group of people that I speak to, or each individual, is a little bit different. So yeah, so expenses, many different things. Travel, a lot of people don't think about the travel as well. So, or being able to spend time with family, or especially with COVID, maybe you've got to bring your family in, and so you've got higher expenses. Maybe one of your family members has lost their job. So there's so many different things that can come up. So basically, in a nutshell, what you want to be doing here is income minus expenses. You want it to be positive. When it's positive, ideally you want to have money to save. So I should say, okay, save at least 10%. 10 to 20% would be a good idea for saving, because then you can, I call it allocated savings. So it's for when you need to go to the dentist, or for when your car maintenance or your insurances come up, or contingencies or travel. You've just got that allocated savings in there. I also usually bring in what I call storehouse. So it's wealth for the future, for future generations. There's a saying that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. So we want to be leaving a legacy going forward. And also, I usually suggest to people giving away at least 10%. And the main reason for that, and this is really different even to the Barefoot Investor. I haven't seen anything. I'm reading that at the moment. Haven't seen anything in there about giving money away. But I just find that if we don't give the money away, because money is usually used for a transaction. So it's, I buy something, I'm expecting a good or service in return. So it's a trade. Whereas if you're giving, it's like you're giving back. So yes, it could be to family, but everybody gives to family. One of the premises of the book is that if each of us is responsible for ourselves, responsible for the people we should be responsible for, whether that be children or people in the family, perhaps who have disabilities or different things, and then reach out to help at least a few others, then we're part of the solution. We're part of reducing world poverty, because we're not part of the problem, we become part of the solution. So yeah, so if we're in positive, if we have income minus expenses equals positive, we've got more money to save, more money to give away, which also stops us from being greedy, because a lot of us, if we start, and especially if you're competitive, people can say, okay, I've got this much money, and you check, and, every few months, like, wow, my bank account's growing, or whatever it is, which is all great. But by giving away, you're giving back, you feel good, the people who are receiving it feel good, as long as there's no strings attached. You've also got money to invest. So I think it's a pretty good rule of thumb to just think, as an example, read a chapter of a book a day. So the people that, are more successful in life, they read a chapter of, quite often they read a chapter of a book a day. At the moment, I mentioned that I'm reading Barefoot Investor. I've read many different finance books over the time, and that one's, it's got some really good stuff in it. Obviously, mine's very different because obviously it talks about giving, and it's from a soul and spirit perspective. So it's not only got the practical applications about what you do, but it's also looking at your mindset. So, what do you believe? What did you grow up believing? Is it helpful or is it not? How do you replace the lie with the truth? As an example, a lot of people grew up with money is the root of all evil. Well, no, that's not right. The love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. Money is just a tool. So if you are already a person who has integrity, that your yes means yes, your no means no, and you, yeah, you have integrity, then when you have money, you will still maintain and have integrity. If, on the other hand, that you are someone who is you find life that there's never enough to go around, and you're always thinking, oh my gosh, and you're worried about money all the time, then as you go on, and even if you're earning twice the amount of money, you will find that that mindset, that attitude will still be that, oh my gosh, I've never got enough money. And with most of us, just realistically, human nature, we tend to spend more if we have more. But I would advocate that as quickly as you can, that you actually, you have your different percentages taken out of your pay. And one of the reasons that I do that is, say, for example, if you, every dollar that you have come in, if you separate it out, some is for now, some is for expenses, some could be just for leisure, maybe going to the movies or getting your hair done, or whatever it is. But some of it is, to give away, so you're not getting caught up in the greed or the poverty mentality. So your money is a tool rather than money being your master. That you have more choices in life, and you can invest in yourself, you can invest in the future, you can also invest in things as they come up. During COVID now, most people, it's horrible. There's so many people out of work. I had a business contract, not there, which, you come to rely on the different amounts of money that that you're bringing in. And I do understand about not working. I have had periods, especially in the last few years, where I had extended unemployment, which was crazy. I was applying for so much work every day. I'm so qualified. I've got excellent references, but sometimes life happens, and it's like it doesn't seem to matter what you do. That life happens. Like, nobody planned COVID, so I understand that. And when we've got savings, we can actually. Yeah, I prefer to have like 3 to 6 months worth of savings. But even then, in this time, the last few years, even that I went through, even though my cost of living was so small. So, yeah, I do absolutely relate to that. I understand when you can't afford to go to the dentist, or so I've lived different levels in life, and I know what I teach through here works. So, yeah. So, and again, if it's negative, obviously that's not where you want to be. That means you're debt. You're creating debt, and then there's more interest that you're paying, whether it be to the bank on a credit card, or perhaps you've gone to a loan shark or something. It's not a place where you want to be. And even if it's living week to week, no one could have foreseen, for example, COVID, and now there's all the issues with with riots and things in America, and life seems to be so uncertain at the time. But if we do have a regular income, or even if we don't have a regular income, if we just get into the habit to separate, specific portions out of the money coming in, then we can start looking after our future and being able to be a blessing to other people, which obviously that would start at home. So I thank you so much. Yeah, there's videos on the website where I share bits and pieces of these things. Yeah, so this obviously is one of them. One of the reasons that I talk about the book is that for those of you who are interested in the service, absolutely contact us. Go to the contact page on the website, And if you're interested in coaching or consulting or some training sessions for your organisation or your staff, or schools for students, especially if they are, older students, like say, 15 years or older, um, definitely keen to help in those areas. And it's service by application. So once we receive the contact information or the inquiry in for the service, then we shoot out, some further information to you, send that back, and then we can follow that up with a phone call. But with the book, the reason I shared a bit about that is that especially at the moment, some people can't afford to have a coach, or some people, can't afford to have a speaker. Maybe your budget has reduced in your company, your income has reduced in your company. But with the book, the way that I've written it, it's that over the years, some people have even used it, for example, as rather than having a book club where you're doing it with your, girlfriends from work or something, that you're actually, as a family, you're reading a chapter. And then once a week, you're coming together as a family, perhaps with young adult children, where you talk about what you've learned. I deliberately made each chapter average, I think, between 5 and 7 pages. I think there's one that's over that. But it's just got a little bit of information, 2 to 4 main points, a little bit of information, a testimony either of mine or someone else's, some questions for reflection, and there's resources and things at the back as well. But it's the reason that I did it like that is so that you can just grab the book yourself, and then you can go off and work with that with your family, with your church, with your organisation, or with your book club. Because we're, especially in this time of COVID, most people are in transition. So if we start to just get some basics, it's like, okay, well, I can control my money. I can decide, okay, I can just pull back a little bit here. Maybe I just reduce the amount of coffees that I have in a week or something. For those of you who it's much tighter, then it gives you some solutions there as well. There's, a whole chapter on, reducing expenses, and just even some of them, for example, it might be things that were like telephones. Some people are on really expensive telephone plans, but you can actually go across to ones that have, a really good, generous limit of how many hours, how much data you've got on that, and that it's a set. So just changing it from a variable amount of money each month into a fixed amount you can control. So that's just, one simple thing. Another one might be, shopping at an op shop once they reopen. Some of them have reopened. Unfortunately, some of them have had to close during COVID. So, for example, I love this dress that I have on, and that's from an op shop. I think I bought it for like $4. So there's lots of different ways that you can increase your income. You can reduce your expenses. It doesn't have to be just about your job, but you can start to have control. So if that's you, please keep coming back to the website, sign up for our newsletter. We want to be inspiring people, encouraging people to say, look, that you can change your world, one person at a time, one decision at a time, one day at a time. So thank you so much for listening. We appreciate your time, and we hope that you'll come back again. And just once again, that if you would like to inquire about services, whether it be coaching or consulting for your organisation, or guest speaking or training, interactive workshop, for example, on how to increase your income or how to reduce your expenses or increasing your emotional intelligence, please send us an inquiry. Okay, thank you.